Welcome to the first episode of Breakout, where I talk about playtest and betas for indie games. Today on the chopping block is a game that I have been completely obsessed with, Vaultbreakers by BETADWARF. In just a little bit on what Breakout is on my channel, it's purely for betas and playtests. This is not a full indie observer video, so I'm not going to really be talking about BETADWARF and their ilk. This series is about my time within playtests and betas, of which I've experienced within said indie games. So this video may turn out to be very short or very long, depends on how much information was in that playtest/beta. And no, early access do not count as something for Breakout, since early access is basically the game only accessed early. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about Vaultbreakers. So this is the third playtest BETADWARF has done with Vaultbreakers. There's a bit of interest in the history here while I was doing my research, but I'll talk about that when the game fully comes out and I do an indie observer video for it. I want to mainly talk about my time in the playtest and the amount of good and bad that I've had to go through. So let's talk about the good. Vaultbreakers is basically a MOBA extraction game, and as you guys may already know, the top esports game is still the MOBA League of Legends. And as of right now, there is a trending genre when it comes to video games, and that would be extraction shooters. When it comes to MOBAs, I am not really too experienced. In fact, I've played League of Legends only a few times in my life, and that is only because my best friends kind of dragged me into it. But the gameplay is not unfamiliar to me, since I do play ARPGs like Diablo or Path of Exile or Last Epoch, and in this case it's WASD format. The controls are very snappy and responsive, and of course you have to choose the right server. I was in North America, obviously, and I had 50 ping, which was the lowest I can go, which is perfectly fine. And if I may add, the interactions with not just players but monsters did not feel like there was any lag whatsoever. I did not get held up when I was extracting any resource, and I did not feel anything being slowed down through FPS. In fact, it stayed a solid 60 frames per second. In terms of the gameplay, it is, as I said before, it's an extraction MOBA or MOBA extraction. You can interchange the two, meaning this is a PvEVP game. Not only are you diving into this map to look for stuff to take back home, but you're also avoiding all the dangers out there, which includes players. But trust me, the monsters there can also do some damage if you're not prepared. The biggest danger is if you encounter another player, and it's up to you and them to interact with each other, whether you fight each other out or pass each other by in order to move on to your mission. Said missions are quests given to you by NPCs that are usually at the vault, but you can find NPCs out there on the field, and once you finish their mission, they will turn up in your haven, which is your main hub. Now, I wasn't able to get all of them, but I did get a few important ones thanks to a person by the name of Squire, who helped me out while I was basically fumbling around doing whatever jack shit. It was during the time I was soft locked, and I will talk about that later, but he helped me out get an NPC who sold rare gear at a time, and I think he's like the most important NPC that you can get. There are other NPCs as well, ones that sell potions, bandages, and random goods, which is also very important. However, again, you have to find them out on the field while you're facing other creatures or other players, so you may find that person, but finishing their mission and finishing their quest may be up to you, depending on if you survive being tackled by maybe a few players who happen to find you, which is where I want to talk about the extraction portion of this game. This is my very first extraction anything when it comes to video games. From what I've learned about extractions, you can go in with nothing and come out with everything, or you can go in with everything on the board and come out with nothing. You can do a low risk, high reward, or a high risk, low reward, or it could be high risk, very high reward. And it's just as easy to go in with nothing and come out with nothing. The thing about extractions is that you do have to have a modicum of skill to be able to go into a map, find whatever you need to do, maybe avoid all the dangers that you can, and come back with the loot that you have. And it can be very dangerous for you. You can go in with all the legendary gear you can think of. High gear, basically a high risk, because all of that could be taken away in a second, because there could be a player who is incredibly skilled, doesn't have as high a gear, but know how to use their character and take all of your stuff when they down you. On stream, I did not have a lot of luck. At one session, I kept dying and dying and dying, and I had no idea what was going on. Obviously, it was me streaming and just talking and trying to entertain at the same time. That's not a good thing for me. I'm going to have to learn how to concentrate while I am playing this game and not get killed. And I say this because as soon as I turned the stream off, I went back in off stream and I was just murdering people. And I did it in different types of ways. You can bum rush somebody because you know you have more gear and a lot more attack power, or you can be very sneaky, maybe attack from a bush or wait until they're low health because they were taking on mobs or another player. Because what I've learned from extraction is that it could be one of the most fun things that you can do, while at the same time be one of the most frustrating things that can ever happen. I want to point out games like Escape from Tarkov or Arc Raiders, which is currently the more trending games when it comes to extraction. And as you may know, Escape from Tarkov and Arc Raiders, you go in, find some stuff, and you try to get out with all that loot. And for me, while looking at those games, I thought it was fun watching streamers go through it, but with me, I'm kind of scared of that. I really am, because I can go in, get my shit rocked, and what if I lose everything? How do I gain everything back? And I experienced that in Vaultbreakers. There was a time where I just kept getting ran over for maybe an hour or two, and I just kept losing my storage. But I decided to play smart. I decided to avoid as many players as possible, be as sneaky as possible, go to places where there weren't many players, and get as much loot as I can from over there while escaping and extracting myself with said loot, for which I could sell at the vendor and possibly get other things. So that's basically the main gist of the gameplay of this extraction MOBA. Go in, get as much stuff, get out. In terms of what I was able to play, I mostly played the first map, which is a forest area, and I did try this other desert map, which is a factory area. Didn't do too much of that because, well, there are other materials and possibly rare items that you can get from there. I didn't do too much of that because I was focusing on the forest area. A lot of my missions were in the forest area, which is the reason why I focused on it. And I do have to say, I do like the fact that you have missions as you go into your extraction gameplay. When I mean missions, I mean quests. There are the main quests that you get from NPCs to further your gameplay and the story, and you have the side quests. And no, there was no access to the main campaign. I mean the main quest that was within the PvEVP. Basically, in the main quest, you were investigating certain areas, finding certain NPCs, or collecting certain materials. While the side quest can be just anything, really. It could be absolutely anything. And it usually comes down to collect certain materials. There's also these challenges that you can do, and they will supply you with extra material. And all these resources will add up to something to help you unlock certain other things. For example, your storage. You have to find and help Silverhook Sam, bring him back to the Haven where he can help you unlock more spaces in your storage. And basically what you have to do with him is collect more materials, and a lot of those materials are rewards from other NPCs and challenges. Which, by the way, I want to talk about the characters. The characters in this game are called Vaultbreakers, of course, and as you continue to play with one of these Vaultbreakers, they level up, and those level ups will allow you to have new perks. And so far there aren't too many perks. It only goes up to level 15. Really, after you reach level 15, you're allowed to use 4 of the perks that you were given, and how you use those perks can pertain to your playstyle. I didn't play with all the characters. I mainly played with Sparkwing and Thora. Sparkwing being a dragon, and I am a huge fan of dragons, of course, and Thora, who is this double-wielding badass woman from the north. Of course, she was the most broken character, apparently, from what I've heard in the first playtest. The new broken character in this playtest is Bjornir, who is a crowd control monster, and because he's a tank, he is very hard to kill. On top of the fact that he can freeze enemies in place, yeah, he is a monster. And like I said, most of my experience went with Sparkwing and Thora, and I had a lot of fun with those two. Sparkwing being more of a glass cannon lightning mage, and Thora being an attack speed monster. However, Thora was incredibly nerfed from what I've heard, where she used to be able to outrun everybody. Now she can't do that. Thankfully, there are items that the Vaultbreakers can use in case they need extra health, maybe they need to blink, maybe they need to fire something off. They're just extra abilities on the side. For Thora, I gave her a short teleport or a faster movement speed so that she can keep up with her opponents. Her lack of a gap closer made her very vulnerable to certain projectile characters, but we try to find a way. And as I said before, this is an extraction game, so you're looking in chests or defeating enemies to find loot that you can take back home, or better yet, PvP, where you're fighting other players and you're taking their stuff. Now, as positive as I was with this game, there were a few issues I did find. The first issue, and probably the most major issue, is when I got soft locked within the game itself. There would be a mission where you have to break the vault, and breaking the vault is one of the most dangerous things that you can do. Now, the reason for that is because once you break open the vault, the whole world knows that you are breaking the vault, or someone is attempting to get into the vault. And if you do get into the vault, it gives you a ton of money, a ton of items, a bunch of rare things that you can take back home. Basically, it's a vault full of good stuff. The most valuable thing is a core. This core will then turn into a rune when you take it back home. Unfortunately, however, because it is a rune, and I also saw a gate while I was roaming around the haven or your hub area, I saw the gate, I put the rune in there, it took my rune, and I soft locked myself. You see, the correct order was that you were supposed to talk to the NPC that gave you the main quest, and once you showed her the rune, she would then instruct you to take it over to the gate, and that's when you were supposed to give the rune over to the gate. But I did it backwards, and I soft locked myself. In fact, it wasn't just me, but a whole bunch of people, and they had to address that in the playtest. My suggestion is that you take that gate, right, and you lock it off, so that they don't soft lock themselves when it comes to that rune. In fact, you're supposed to, and you should, talk to the NPC who gave you the main quest, so I think it would be a good idea to shut down or not have that gate be accessible before you talk to the NPC so that you can further your main quest. That's more or less an easy fix on that, but there are other things. This one is kind of a small issue, but the mouse keeps disappearing whenever I click around, and it is still there. It's still in the window. It's able to click on things, but I can't see the mouse. I don't know why that happens. I don't know how that's happening, and I don't know if it's just me, but the mouse does disappear at times. Another thing is that you can play as duos or in a team of 3. And I didn't talk too much about the duos and a team of 3. You can find random people to party with, but for the most part I would say try to play with friends, because you can communicate via Discord or whatever, because friends, well, they'll talk to you, which comes down to the issue of them not speaking if you party up with a rando. Maybe you want to tell them, hey, you need to go here on the map. The map unfortunately does not have a ping system or a marker system to allow you to tell them, hey, this is where I want to go. So something like that on the map would be a good idea. I think it would be a great idea, in fact, especially nowadays where a lot of players and a lot of gamers do not want to talk for whatever reason. Of course, I think there's a chat system in there. I might be wrong. There might not be a chat system in there. I didn't bother even trying to use a chat because I was on Discord with my friend when I did a duo. But yes, in today's climate, I do believe there are a lot of people who just do not want to talk on voice chat. They'll go in with a random team, not say anything, not type anything, and they'll just do whatever they need to do. Go in, go out, whatever. And again, I do believe it is today's climate when it comes to gaming. People just do not want to communicate or talk or try to talk in any kind of way. It is very different from the old MMO times of World of Warcraft, where tons of people will try to find some sort of voice space to talk out whatever raids or dungeons they're about to do. And I should know, I play Final Fantasy XIV, where the first thing that you see when you go into a dungeon is a bunch of waved hands or hellos. Don't speak for the whole entire dungeon. Beat the dungeon, say GG, and then you get the hell out of there. Now, the last issue is something I want to talk about and propose here. Now, when it comes to extraction games, you can go in with nothing and come out with everything, or you can go in, try to get as much stuff as possible, get shot down, and come out with nothing. And that happens a lot. I propose that there would be a free set of gear, the lowest that it can be, or something, so that you can go in with that free set and have a chance to survive. I believe Arc Raider does something like this with a free kit so that they don't just go in with nothing. When it comes to Vaultbreakers, you can go in with nothing and still come out with something for sure. But what if you don't have anything anymore in your storage? Maybe you've had a losing streak for a good long time and you really have nothing. No money, no gear, nothing. Since you're at rock bottom, I think a free kit of something will help out those who are in a rough patch. But that's just something proposed. You don't have to take it all in. I want to know what you guys think about that proposition. Just let me know, in all honesty, in the comments down below. But overall, I think the game is pretty solid on this third playtest. I can't wait for the next playtest happening in February, and I would love to know what you guys think about all this. Were you in the playtest in December, or are you going to be in the playtest for February? What do you guys think about the game? Please let me know in the comments down below, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe if you like the videos and you want to see more videos like this for more Breakout. Please let me know. I want to thank BETADWARF for allowing me to be part of their playtest. It was a lot of fun, and I think I'm going to be addicted to this game when it actually comes out. I hope to see more maps, I hope to see improvements on the things that I talked about, and I hope they take the propositions for the map and for the free kit. And that's all I have for today's Breakout. I hope to see you guys soon. Remember, keep gaming alive and have fun. Bye.